All right, guys, welcome to Almost an Agreement. We got a special interview with Sherif Guindi.
Guindi.
Okay, I apologize. I meant to ask you that before we started recording, but we're amateurs, so we like to flaunt it. So Sherif is running for public defender for Knox County.
Right.
And he's running as an independent. So for me, there's going to be a lot of independent questions. Um, a lot of what we do, particularly, is acknowledge our lack of knowledge in civics and what goes on and who's in elections and when they're in elections. And so we started this podcast. It's four of us, and it's usually just us talking about life in general. And it always ends up rolling into politics. And since it always ends up rolling into politics, we're like, hey, why don't we just start talking to these people and see if we can get a hold of these people? And so then all of a sudden, I had Gina Oster on, Kyle Ward, and Todd Fromeyer are my current people's running on this upcoming August 6th ticket. Which the sad part is I didn't realize we had an actual election August 6th. I was under the impression that it was a primary, which it is a primary for the Senate seat and a couple other primaries. I guess the last of the, I don't even know what all is on that primary part, but I didn't realize that this August 6th was a full election for a lot of Knox County stuff.
Right.
And so, like, part of this process of doing the show is we're accidentally educating ourselves on what's happening. Yeah. We're accidentally balanced as a set of friends. I would say two of our guys are hard blue. One of our guys is a hard red. I would call myself more gold than anything. I argue as a libertarian most of the time, which is why I'm curious about the independent part, because I was looking into when I first reached out to you and I started looking into what the race was that you're in. I was like, oh, cool, an independent, that's great. And then I was like, I didn't realize we voted for a public defender. And then I realized I don't know what a public defender really does. So let's take a couple minutes and let you give your history, your bio. And then maybe we'll start introing on what public defender does in the grand scheme of things. So I'll shut up for a minute and let you do.
All right. Well, I guess I'll try to make it as quick as possible. I'll go back to birth. Okay. So, my parents are Egyptian.
Okay.
I was born in England. I was born in Nottingham, England. So
okay.
I'm the Sherif of Nottingham. When I was about a year and a half old, we moved to the United States.
Okay.
And pretty quickly, after about 6 months in North Carolina, we moved to the small town of Harlan, Kentucky. So Harlan County, Kentucky, not far from here. That's where I grew up for the most part. But I did go to high school here in Knoxville. Went to web school here in Knoxville. Okay. After high school, I went to college, eventually graduated from Arizona State University. I went to law school. I graduated from University of Georgia Law School in Athens, Georgia.
Okay.
And then shortly, right after leaving law school, I moved back to my original hometown of Harlan, and that's where I first practiced law. And my first exposure, I guess I'll just throw it in here as part of my history. My first sort of exposure to public defense was through clinics in law school.
Okay.
I was on, they called it legal aid, but it really was the public defender's office, and it was done through University of Georgia.
And so part of the schooling thing was you'd go help out at the public defender's office, essentially.
Yes.
So it'd be a little bit of interning, but also a little hands-on experience with what's happening.
Exactly.
But also dealing with real lawyers and what's going on. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And in fact, even to one point, there was something in many states, including Georgia, including Tennessee, that's called the Third Year Practice Act. Mm-hmm. So when you're a third year law school's 3 years. So in that third year, under sort of the watchful eye of another attorney, you can actually practice. I mean, you can be in court and representing someone and speaking to the judge,
as a public defender in the third year rule.
Yes. Okay, and not just that. I mean, they do that for prosecutors.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what else. I mean, that's generally what you see it for is or prosecutors or public defenders.
Okay. So kids that are studying criminal law more than civil law.
Well,
or I guess it doesn't matter.
I guess it doesn't necessarily matter.
Okay.
Law school is made up of a lot of electives.
Right.
There are certain classes that everyone has to take, and then after that, they're just sort of electives. So people don't necessarily have like a major per se in law school.
But it always ends up like everybody like. The different lawyers, all the different lawyers that I know are very specific. Like a good friend of mine is a civil rights attorney. That's all he does is civil rights cases. And then, well, sort of. But then he's also our corporate attorney for our business, and so like I force him out of his field to help us out, and he's not any cheaper, even though it's not his focus. So I don't understand that, but it's lawyer stuff, and I know I don't understand that most of the time anyway. But so okay, so you were doing some intern, lack of a better word, work in Georgia, moved back to Harlan, started practicing in Harlan, and then what got you back into Knoxville?
Yeah. What got me back into Knoxville is I bumped into an old college friend of mine, an old high school friend of mine, Alexis Wade, who's now my wife. I bumped into an old friend, ended up getting married, moving back to Knoxville.
Fantastic. That's a lot. That's a couple different people we've talked to now that their wives brought them back to Knoxville.
Yeah.
But I mean, my dad brought us down here when I was a kid, and I'm not going anywhere. I don't have any desire. I got travel in me, but not living elsewhere in me. So we're back in Knoxville, and you're practicing in Knoxville currently.
Right.
And so, how does the decision get made for you to get into the politics side of it, as far as actually running for an office? Have you been working with the public defender's office already? And it was just kind of because it's a special election this time, is that, or it is. It's an early election. Vacate, like the current,
right?
He quit or is retiring earlier than his term's ending.
Yes,
is that my understanding correctly?
Yeah, he retired early. Mm-hmm.
All right, so he's retiring early. So this technically wasn't supposed to be on the ballot this time around.
Right, it was supposed to be in 2 years.
Okay, and so he's retiring early, and it's you and Eric Lutton,
right,
have gotten through the primary process. Which, if I understood the primary, reading up on the primary, is Eric and one other Republican, and then you as the independent was all that was running through that portion.
Right, and I didn't even have to participate in the primary as an independent. The primary is just for Republicans and Democrats.
Okay, and so. To go out of the specific of what you're running for, just for the civics part of this thing, because one of the things I've asked everybody else, it's like, well, if you're running as a Republican, if you're running as a Democrat, like how does the Republican GOP and the Knoxville GOP and the Democrats of Knoxville, how does that work as far as getting permission to put their stamp on you? As far as I'm running as a Republican, here's your R, and that's always been a thing. So as an independent, obviously you don't have that. Do you have a party affiliation that's helping you with the process, or is this you're just doing this fully as an independent?
I'm really doing it as an independent.
Okay, and so are there any? Have you noticed any like issues as far as trying to deal in the system without having some of the outside help of the parties?
Well, I guess I don't know because I haven't seen the other side. I don't know what I would have gotten if I were a Republican or Democrat. I don't know what kind of help I would have gotten. And also the whole, the way everything's shut down, basically since the primary. The primary was on March 3rd.
Right.
And then, I decided I didn't really want to get out there very much prior to the primary because then people might be confused. Hey, I've seen this guy's ads or I've heard him speaking and he's not even on a ballot, which I wasn't in March. And then
because it showed on the primary listings, it showed at 0%, and I'm like, nobody, not one person,
right?
I guess not, because they didn't have the option to, because you're not party affiliated in the primary ballot. You have to pick up a Republican ballot, and you're not going to be. Yeah, I guess that makes sense now that I think about it. I guess one of the other questions too is like Knoxville mayor is a non-affiliated ballot. There's no parties on the ballot. It's person A, B, C. Is there some like underlying stances that the parties run that makes sense to apply to the public defender, or should this be an unaffiliated? Like, to me, it makes sense this should be an unaffiliated ballot seat anyway.
I agree with that.
No, I'm just curious. Like, is there something about this seat that makes it make sense, or is it that's just how it is?
It's just how it is, and I think, and so unaffiliated, and the other term is nonpartisan.
Right, that's the word I was looking for. Yes.
Yeah. To me, it makes sense for it to be a nonpartisan position, and I think it is a nonpartisan position. I think whether you're running as a Republican or Democrat, or independent, it shouldn't make any difference on how you do the job. I mean, the job is
in fairness, any public seat shouldn't make a difference on how you do your job. But I get what you're saying.
Right.
your job is for the people. Period. Either regardless of your affiliation. But that was a side joke. Sorry.
Yeah. No. I got you. Yeah. No. I understand. And my understanding is that all Knox City elections are nonpartisan. They are all nonpartisan. The county ones are not. The county ones are partisan. Right. You can run partisan.
That makes more sense because I'm a county resident, so I don't see a lot of the city stuff that goes that nonpartisan bit. So that helps in the general education of me. So something we all learned today is that's interesting. Okay, that's good to know. I'm sorry. Continue.
No, you're fine. You're fine. The only other thing I was going to say is that that's not true with all counties. My understanding, anyways, that not all counties are positions like the judges or public defender. I'm not sure about the prosecutor's office, the DA's office, but not all counties are those partisan elections. Some of those are nonpartisan countywide also.
Okay.
That's my understanding anyway. For example, in Kentucky, all judgeships are nonpartisan. And there's not an elected public defender. Public defender is a statewide office that has
right, that falls under those like certain counties, like bigger counties, like whatever county, Lexington and Louisville, and probably have their standalone office versus. Because I believe that's what's going on with the health department things right now. Like Governor Lee put that thing out where he's allowing county mayors to do the mask mandate. I don't know if you've heard about all this stuff. Right. But there were like 6 counties excluded, Knox County included. And as I understood it, the only reason that Knox County and Davidson County and Shelby County were excluded is because they had their own health departments. And they let those health departments make that decision. So I'm guessing that's similar to what you're talking about with the public defender's office in the smaller counties in Kentucky, where the larger counties don't, or the larger counties run under the same system.
No, now at one point, one county, and I think it was the county that Louisville is in, had its own standalone, and all the other counties were under the state system.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if that's even. It may be that they're all under the state system now, but I'm actually not 100% sure on
Gotcha. That. Okay. That's very. I don't know. Again, like most of this for me is like I want you to have a chance to get your message out and what makes you stand out against your competition as far as the politics goes. But a big part of this to me is I want to educate myself, as well as try to help educate my co-hosts, who you can all see are very active today, and our audience, because I think one of the biggest things that's missing is, like I said earlier, if I wasn't doing this show, I wouldn't know that you existed on this August 6th ballot. I wouldn't know. I would assume that all the political stuff that I'm seeing around town right now is getting ready for November. Everything's getting ready for November, which parts of it are, because parts of the primaries on August 6th will turn into what's going on in November.
Right.
But like your election is August 6th.
That's right. That's the general.
Okay, and so as the boss of the public defender's office, what is the full? I mean, it's just public defender is the job title.
Yeah, or you could say district public defender, but the public defender.
So I guess, like you said, it doesn't seem like there should be much of a difference party-wise, but like, I guess, what is your image of what the job is supposed to be? And I guess that'll help us fulfill what your intent is when you get elected. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. So, so the basic idea of a public defender is everyone has a right to representation in criminal defense cases. And some people can't afford an attorney, and it's been deemed, the U.S. Supreme Court deemed that everyone has a right to appointed counsel if they cannot afford counsel. And
okay, real quick, I want to interrupt because I'm curious. Is there like a specific number? Like, is it like an income per year? Like what? Like just because you always hear it. I mean, you hear the Miranda rights on all your cop TV shows, and if you cannot afford one, is there like an actual chart like on how the county would decide if you are eligible to get a public defender?
Well, the way it's done is you fill out an affidavit of indigency. So indigency just meaning that you
I don't have enough money for whatever.
Right. So you fill an affidavit of indigency. A defendant would. A judge will look at that and then determine by looking at it whether or not that person can afford an attorney. I don't know if there's any specific monetary amount. My understanding is it's within the judge's discretion, but you sort of look at you look at the overall what's someone's income as compared to their expenses.
You might be able to quote afford this, but you're not going to be able to afford to eat for 6 months. So we're going to say that you can have it. Okay, that makes sense. That makes it a little bit more logical. I was curious if there was like a fixed number. That's kind of what I was shooting after.
I don't know if there is a number that is supposed to be sort of a point that you're looking at, or the judges are looking at. I've not heard that.
Right.
Certainly, it would be in a judge's discretion if someone's close or above that number. But the general idea is a judge, someone that understands, will look at it and say this person has this kind of actual money flow or maybe none at all.
Right.
They really do need an attorney. And
Okay.
sometimes it's because they're in jail. I mean, they're in jail and they can't bond out. Well, they have no ability to make money.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I interrupted with that question.
Oh, no,
So you're giving us the picture of the job. So someone who's deemed by the judge after they're filling out their paperwork that they are guaranteed access to an attorney and can't afford it, that person gets the paperwork gets shuffled to your office, and you guys take the case from there.
Right. The default is the public defender's office will be appointed. Now, there are conflicts sometimes. Sometimes the public defender's office can't take a case because, let's say, for example, they already represent a co-defendant in the same case, or they represent the victim of that case in another case. Or for different reasons, there may be conflicts. So the judge will appoint another private attorney that takes.
So it's a specific attorney in the office, or the office as a whole?
He will appoint the office as a whole, but a specific attorney will end up taking that case.
But what I'm asking is if say defendant A is pushed to the office and you guys are working on him, and then defendant B comes up and there's a relation there, is it the attorney that the office assigns to A that can't do B, or is it the office has touched A so they can't touch B? Does that make sense?
Yes, the whole office would not be able to
So essentially, if you get assigned, the whole office is working for you as a defendant. So if I get arrested for I don't know, not wearing a mask right now because that's the thing, and I fill out my form and I get assigned to your office, the entirety of the office is now my representation. I'll probably have one person assigned to me that'll actually deal with everything, but just because I hit the office, that makes the whole office part of me, which means other people involved in me can't go there. Is that my understanding?
I mean, basically, and what really makes the conflict, let's say, if this were a private firm as opposed to the public defender's office, certainly a specific attorney may be appointed or may be working on a case. What makes the firm, what makes there a conflict in the firm is not necessarily per se the whole firm represents the person, which in a way the public defender does anyway,
right.
But is just that, now the whole firm is sort of deemed to have knowledge or information that an attorney who's part of that firm has. So now
I get you.
Right.
So there could be information that the other party may not be privy to otherwise. Okay, that makes sense.
Right, and loyalty, that too, that kind of thing.
Okay, and so all right, so that's the job. That's what you're doing. So where do you see yourself as far as any of the structural things going on? Because I did a little research. Again, I know my ignorance, and that's part of the point of the show, is to flaunt it and make fun of myself in the process. But I do try to look into it, and I was reading through, and if I understood it correctly, essentially, Knox County's office has like a very special program that a lot of other public defenders don't do. Right. And that there's apparently some Harvard study that's going on inside the office right now or something. I don't quite understand it because it's legal speak. But that there's some things going on that are specifically part of this office that are different from others. And how that affects your job as running that office and trying to deal with some of that side effect stuff, and whether you understand what I'm talking about and what that is. Would be a good start to talk about it, and then moving on to how that's going to affect and what you can do with that as the head of the office.
Great, yes. Okay, so what is different about the Knox County Public Defender's Office? They use a holistic approach. Okay. And holistic basically means treating the whole person, looking at the whole person, not just, we are your criminal defense attorney. That's what we do. Anything else,
anything
you got to go somewhere else. Yeah. Right. But no, it's not just we're just your criminal defense attorney. We also provide, the office provides social workers, provides other access to other kinds of resources to help people. So whether they need help getting into rehabilitation for drug or alcohol, get mental health help, have help getting housing, or bus vouchers, things like that.
So is part of that designed to help your office give the court options as far as, hey, we got this guy, he had a little thing, it's not a huge deal, we don't want to put him in jail, but we can help him get a more stable this, that, and the other, instead of just throwing him flat back out, as far as almost a bargaining chip, for lack of a better word, as far as, is that a bonus for your office being able to talk to the courts and say, hey, not only are we defending this guy, but we have options for him Is that part of the sales pitch as far as when you're in court? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Well, it is a bonus in the sense that yes, you're giving another alternative to just walking someone up, or just treating them as
right. And for the judge's side, it's like it's not lock them up or throw them out on the street. It's we have middle ground, so it's okay. Right.
Yes, no, exactly. But the point, sort of the goal of the holistic approach is, even though certainly that's part of it, is that it ends up giving other options besides just treating just punishment in a sense,
right.
Sending someone to jail or prison, is by helping that person out with whatever other underlying needs they have, whatever things that maybe put them in a position where they, I don't know. Some people maybe are in a desperate position
right.
because of their poverty, or because of their mental health, or because of these kinds of things. That if you can help that person, the underlying needs that person has, then not only are you sort of giving them, the judge another option to treat them differently in that particular case, but you may be changing their life.
Right.
You may be putting them on a track where
right.
they're not going to become a repeat offender.
Right.
And that helps everyone, right? That helps the whole community.
No, I like it, as I understood it. I thought it was very. I like that as an approach. I don't have a lot of background in understanding how other offices do things or whatnot. So as far as the job goes, then you're not just managing lawyers and court cases. You're now managing social workers, and I'm assuming there's some level of the little black book, for lack of a better word, of people that help with situations. That you have like a spreadsheet of, you got a mental health person, here's some people that can help us with that. You've got a poverty issue, here's some of the services here in Knoxville. So I would assume that's part of the job.
Right.
Now, I guess for you, does it feel like that's kind of splits attention? Or do you feel like, I think it's a great thing. I'm assuming you think it's a good thing as well.
Yes.
But as far as trying to manage that, does that sound, it sounds to me like you're kind of turning one job into now like 3 or 4, because you're not just managing a group of attorneys anymore. You're now managing a group of attorneys and a group of social workers, and a contact list of people that can use or help that. So, again, I agree that it's probably an overall good thing, but do you think this is something that should be under this office, or should it split off and kind of have its own animal that works in tandem with you? Or, I don't know, what is your take on the management part of that, I suppose?
Okay. I honestly can't think of a better place for it to be than within the public defender's office. Because if you're looking at it as this, to use the word again, a holistic approach, a whole person approach, then, if everything is sort of managed in the same place, under the same sort of, theories and the same kind of goals, that's helpful rather than sort of piecemealing things.
Right.
Me as someone who takes these appointed cases that the public defender's office can't take. A lot of my cases are like
in your private practice.
In my private practice,
yes.
Or criminal cases that I get appointed. Sometimes I get someone, and I feel, honestly, I feel, oh my gosh, this person, because they've gotten me appointed, because there was a conflict with the public defender's office, is going to miss out on all of these other resources that the public defender's office has that I don't have.
Right.
But now we can get some of those things by obviously using our own little black books,
right.
Find like services and stuff like that, and also we can get an investigator by asking the court to approve funds, and then having the state pay for that investigator and things like that.
Okay.
Which is another thing that's in the office, obviously, or investigators.
Okay, so yeah, separate from the police, so that you have your own.
Our own,
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I've watched enough Law and Order to know that it's probably not fully accurate, but there's probably some things that are realistic in the show. Okay, so it's you and Eric. I guess for lack of a better way to say it is how do you stand apart from Eric as far as your take on how to run the job? And I don't know, get me to vote for you.
Okay.
Sell yourself to me.
All right. So so I have a variety of different experiences, in law. When I did go back to Harlan, Kentucky, after just a short period of time working under another attorney, just kind of getting my legal feet underneath me, I started working for the public defender's office. So I was a public defender in Harlan, Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Like I said, that's not an elected position. I was, technically called a public advocate, an assistant public advocate. Mm-hmm. But I was a public defender in the sense of that was my job, was to represent people that couldn't afford an attorney. So I did that for a little while in Harlan, Kentucky, and then I ended up working for a prosecutor's office in Harlan, Kentucky. So I got to see both sides. That office was an office that worked very closely with, because most of the cases that went through that office were people that were represented by the public defender's office. I mean, there were a lot of impoverished defendants there.
It's Harlan, Kentucky, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so in a way, moving over to the prosecutor's office was sort of working on the opposite side of the same coin in a way. You're sort of seeing the opposite side of it. And as a prosecutor, you were supposed to do what is just. It's not about just winning or, I'm just zealously representing the state.
Right.
It's, I want to make sure that justice is done here.
Right.
And the public defender's office obviously has the same goal for its clients, and they are, number one, supposed to zealously represent their clients, but also, with an eye to what's right. And that's certainly what you're going to end up working out are fair outcomes,
right.
Working out with the prosecutor, or if it comes to convincing a court or a jury or whatever.
Right.
So I have that experience on both sides.
Okay.
And then I also have the experience here, being a private attorney, running my own private practice, but also having a large number of these cases that the public defender's office has to conflict out, that they can't handle because of conflicts.
So is that a cost of having your license? Is you are to practice law in Knox County? You kind of are. Is it an obligation to practice that you will take them on, or is it something that is optioned, is volunteered by your office, or is it kind of thrust upon by some of the rules that are in place?
It's by choice.
Okay.
It's by choice. You choose to do it. You choose to get on the appointment lists for the different courts, and then you take them.
It's one of those I didn't know. I don't know a lot about those kind of things, but that's one of those I was curious whether it's an obligation or whether it's, and so that's a good sales pitch on it. It's okay. So what are some of the things that you want to push forward and kind of highlight about the office, and are there any things that are currently going on in the office that you know of that you'd want to change and tweak, or is it just kind of keep it running the way it's been running? Because I apologize, I saw his name, but I don't remember the guy who's leaving.
Mark Stevens.
Mark Stevens is leaving, and he's decided to retire early, but he was great, and we just want to keep running the show that he put together. Or is there anything that you feel like needs an adjustment?
Yeah, so I think for the most part, I would want to continue what Mark Stevens started and what he built.
Okay.
He was the only elected public defender, from the time that
right,
Knox
this
County
office, right? Yeah, I read that part where it's the when it became an electable position, it's been him since day one.
Right.
And then he put this holistic approach thing in place, which has become a big deal nationally, and we've got people that have looked into how we're doing it to establish it in other places, which I think is fantastic. And so, okay, so we're on board with it as is. No changes, nothing. Everything's good.
No. It's not, but what I want to say is, I think part of it is going to be, more of a good thing. Okay, so what I would like to see is for us to expand, wherever we can, expand the access to social workers and these services. I think that just as the attorneys themselves are oftentimes overworked in a public defender setting,
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of times the other services that they want to provide are either they're spread a little thin. I would just like for more people to have access to that, for that to be for there to be more access to that.
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt real quick. So if I haven't committed a crime, but I'm in a situation and I need help, can I go to the public defender's office as a citizen of that, or is it only for persons in the system at this point?
Well, that's one thing about the office is they do provide services. Okay, so it's called the Community Law Office, right?
Okay.
That's what they've named it. Now just recently it's now the Mark Stevens Community Law Office in honor.
That's
of
fair, because you
Mr.
did a pretty
Stevens.
good thing. Okay.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great facility. I mean, it's a building that isn't just an office building. It has a gymnasium, and it has game ball fields and stuff like that as all part of the property. And so they do provide services for people that are not appointed criminal defense clients. That they do services for children, sort of after school and like summer programs. They do clinics for veterans. They help out homeless people with basically legal needs. They do things like volunteer things like collecting and distributing food for food banks and things like that. So it's meant to be a community law office. It is meant to be a place where people can go when they need help. And
so when I have a random legal question as a citizen, that's who I can call, because I've tried to call the DA's office before and they just kind of tell me to go away.
Well, I think it would be fair to call them. I mean,
Okay, so I'll paint a picture, because this has been, it's always itched me, because this is a problem with the greater law issue. One of the greater issues with the law in general to me is that, so a couple years ago, my buddy and I, who have business together, we want to do a fundraiser. We decided that Wounded Warrior Project was our target recipient for this fundraiser, and I like to play poker, and I go play free roll poker games at the different bars around town when I was allowed to. And so I have a lot of people that play a lot of poker. So I was like, let's do a poker tournament to raise money for whatever. And then it's like, well, poker's a little iffy. Let me make sure. And so I called Knoxville's DA, somebody in the county. I ended up calling the whoever's office in Nashville. Just like, I want to do this fundraiser. I want to make sure I'm not breaking the law. And it's like, well, you need to consult your own attorney. It's like, well, I can't read the library full of books of law that are in the state of Tennessee. Even if my attorney happened to have read that, him remembering that specific one, I need some help on just this one specific thing. And I don't know, I just feel like to me that's part of that should be what part of it, especially an elective office, should be, is to help answer my question as a citizen. And so that was always that's the big story of my little issue. It's like just a simple question: can I do a poker tournament can I do a poker tournament that raises money, but that it's not for profits, it's for a fundraiser? And I basically got the closest thing to an answer I got is, I don't think anybody's going to shut you down. And so it's like, well, I don't understand what you're telling me here, because you're not telling me whether it's legal or not. If anything, I hear if they feel like it, they can shut you down because you are technically breaking the law. But since you're doing it for a fundraiser, it's likely that the Knox County Sheriff's Office is probably just going to be like, yeah, whatever, and go about your day. So that to me is a frustration as a citizen. It's like, I feel like without having to pay an attorney, I should have somebody that can answer some basic questions. And so again, long story for the simple of that, is that a place people can go to ask, basic questions?
I don't think in a broad sense of, hey, listen, where's the place where people can just go ask legal questions, that's really the role, or that the public defender's office would sort of have, for lack of a better word, the time to be available for that. Now, look, certainly I think if you call the office and an attorney there, or the public defender himself wants to talk to you and sort of say, well, listen, this is how I look at things, I don't see there being a problem with that. I think generally if there's sort of, hey, listen, the first thing people may say, well, listen, you may just have to go hire an attorney or pay an attorney for a consultation, or sometimes attorneys will give you a free consultation, especially if you just have one question. That may be the case, like a private attorney.
But they get that, like, the problem being is that now it becomes that this is that attorney's opinion on a question. It's, I don't know, like, it's one of those things that's frustrating as a citizen. It's like, easy ones: don't kill people. Okay, check. Don't take other people's stuff. Check, I get that. But there's a lot of little gray area. There's a lot of stuff on paper, and it's like, I just want a yes or no. If you can just point me in the direction where I can find the yes or no, that's fine. But I am not a lawyer. I have not spent massive amounts of time on law. So as a citizen, it's frustrating to not be able to find an answer to what should be a yes or no question. And that's what's frustrating to me about it. Like, I just really want to, like, again, that particular long story it's not that important. It was a fundraiser. I wasn't really worried about getting in trouble for it anyway, but just little simple stuff, especially as a business person. It's like, well, like right now we've got all the craziness with the mask and the no mask, and it's like, I read through that thing 3 times and I'm not sure if I am obligated to if I'm supposed to police people and make sure they wear masks as a business owner, and it's like that is not my job. I did not get into the policing business.
Right.
I got into the retail business, and I'm not going to tell people what they can and can't do. If you as the county want to say that, okay. And I will do my due diligence, and I will put my sign up, and I will require my staff to, because I can obligate my staff to do things. But a regular citizen coming around doing their thing, I am not going to tell them how to live their lives. That's not my business as this business. And so, that would be a maybe a better example of who can I ask to get the answer to that question, other than my lawyer. And then my lawyer is just going to tell me his opinion, which when Knox County Sheriff's Office comes in and does something, now it's my lawyer versus Knox County, and we have to have a big legal fight over it, because nobody can answer the question, and the people that do refuse to, I guess, in my experience.
I think the best answer to that question, would be to really pursue and try to get an answer from the district attorney general's office.
Okay.
Either the district attorney general's office.
Yeah, because that's who I got to at Nashville, is the AG's office.
Okay, now that would have been the attorney general, like for the whole state.
Right.
That would be my next.
Right. I got like
opinion.
the assistant to the AG was the one that gave me the I don't think anybody's going to do anything about it answer. That's who I got that answer. I think I don't not to accidentally blame whomever you are, and this was also a while ago, so whoever you are may not be there or not. No legal specifics here. I've learned that from both my medical friends and my legal friends, is just stay away from specifics, and then you don't get in trouble for it. But yeah, and so that again, to be just being that little thing about, there's a yes or no on a lot of issues, and as a citizen, I would like to have somebody answer that question, because again, my lawyer can't. He can tell me his opinion, and he can basically, what my lawyer is telling me is he's telling me what he's willing to defend that I do.
Right.
And so that's frustrating as a citizen, just like simple stuff. Like, I don't know, we could take 4th of July stuff, like what particular fireworks are allowed in Knox County and not. There's not a list. You can't just go find that, and there's nobody to ask. And the people you think you could ask, like a cop or the district attorney, don't answer your question. And so that's frustrating to me, and I apologize for ranting on that.
No, you're fine. And I guess that's the thing. I guess any legal issue you have, any attorney you have, they're going to give you their opinion. Now hopefully, you're going to an attorney where that's their area and their opinion is a sound one, and you can feel confident with, okay, well, therefore I can do this. I mean, they may be able to tell you, hey, this is pretty cut and dried, and I know from this statute and from this experience, and but when it comes down to it, unless you're asking the person who would actually prosecute you, let's say if it's a criminal thing, unless you're asking the person who actually has the power to do that, then it in a way it may just be an opinion. I mean, I think that some of them are more than just opinions, in the sense that they're known and it's clear, and hey, I know the answer to this and I can give it to you. You can take that with confidence. But yeah, I think if if it comes down to something that you really need an answer for before you do it, that is kind of exposed, and you're worried about the legality, I think certainly the best source would be the district attorney general, the local attorney general, because that's the person who would look at it to begin with to decide whether or not it's against the law, whether it's something they would prosecute. Okay.
Well, I mean, that's it's not a good. I understand your answer. I don't accept your answer. I don't accept your answer as acceptable, given the history, because they don't seem to do that. And again, I respect the fact that they got stuff to do, and answering my silly little random question about a little random poker tournament is not high on their list of things that they want to go research and double check for me. But I just feel like as a citizen, there should be a source somewhere that I can find some information on, so that I can act accordingly. Because I'm just trying to make sure, because the worst thing would be is I have 100 people show up, I have this big tournament going, having a great time, raising thousands of dollars for a charity, and then the wheels fall off, and then now I have to defend with all these different contributors being upset, all the different people that sponsored the event, and I got 50 people plus all the players that I'm trying to apologize to, and maybe getting a fine from the county or whatever in the process too. And it's like, I just want to do it right. I'm trying to make sure I don't break the law, so help me out, and instead of just kind of telling me you're going to look the other way. So that was that. We kind of interrupted that. We were going through some of the stuff. You really like how Stevens has set the office up, and you want to continue to run it. Seems like one of your major things is to grow some of these services that are available.
Yes.
So what are some of the methods to do that, as far as what are some things you bring to the table to be able to expand some of the services offered?
Okay. Well, so what I would do, I mean, what the approach I would take is, reaching out to other legal professionals, reaching out to the courts, but also reaching out to the actual legislators. I mean, whether they're in the county or in the state. And I think what people need to have is an education or an understanding of what this office is doing, what the community law office is doing, what the holistic approach is, and just how valuable that is, and just how successful that is at not just helping people that are accused of crimes, but really and truly of helping the community, helping the county.
Okay.
So when people learn, or are given the opportunity to take another track in life, they're not going to become public defender. They're not going to become repeat offenders.
Right.
And so
So the goal would be to take some of the money out of his lower I always kill that word. Get the recidivism. Thank you. Recidivism. I've said it like 5 times in my life, and it actually came out right. To get that down, it should make incarceration cheaper, and so we can push some of that money into keeping that in that way. I could absolutely see that as one of the positives that you can bring to the table. Is bringing expanding those services. I could see that because I could see that as if I'm in at state level. Or rephrase that. I can see if I'm, we always call him Mayor Kane on the show, but if I'm Mayor Jacobs, expanding some of your budget in the office to try to help save some budget elsewhere, as far as not having as many people in the system, saving on how many, just the cost of keeping people in prison, cost of keeping people in court, and all the court costs and all the things that go along. That I could see that being something you could sell, as far as,
that's the idea.
You help me do the office better, not just this part. Help me get the social services part going and expand that. So budgets, budget's a big. That's pretty much the answer I get from everybody when I'm talking politics. It's all budget. It's all budget planning, and programs, but it's always making sure you have budget for the programs. And everybody wants more. That's the one thing I found from everybody wants a bigger budget for whatever they're doing.
Well, yeah. And, and hopefully, maybe a lot of it can be done through people that are willing to give their time, or,
right.
or institutions or organizations that are willing to give time to sort of help spread, these services a little bit. But, a lot of times they may...
After the show, I've got a Veterans Affairs friend of mine that, not actually VA office, but a veterans group, that I'll give you his information next time you guys put a veterans thing together. He'd be a good one. He feeds vet for free all the time anyway.
Great.
So next time you do something like that. But again, I apologize. Keep interrupting. We're new at this. We're practicing.
No, you're fine.
But I forgot. I wanted backing up. Making the more services available, getting community involvement, as far as instead of it being a direct cost item from your office, it's going to be get different volunteer groups that already exist or some that start up to be kind of your little black book. Essentially, is what we're talking about, is trying to get
right.
trying to expand the expand the catalog that you have of people to go to when you have a particular need for your clients, essentially.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And so I talk about this kind of idea of an approach, and the first thing is to embrace the holistic approach. That's kind of what we've talked about, and then we've talked a little bit about collaboration. But so collaboration would be also with other legal professionals. I think the collaboration would start within the office, because the office is full of experienced lawyers and social workers that really, have a lot of knowledge, have a lot of experience, and probably have a lot of ideas.
Right.
Certainly, I mean that's something I would always want to make sure they felt comfortable presenting and talking about. But I think also a lot of collaboration with the other attorneys that are like me, that are taking these public defender cases that are where there are conflicts, with the DA's office, with the judges, to sort of once again, sort of make everyone understand what the holistic approach is,
Right.
and maybe figure out, well, what can they do to help, because it helps everybody. It
Yeah,
really,
I agree, and
yeah.
because again, like I said, like not being big into the political scene as we started this show, and then it was like we talk politics, and I've made the argument forever that I need to pay more attention to local politics, and sucked at it, and decided, you know what, I've got a platform as small it is now. Let's do it. Let's get better in the local politics. And so, like I said, I had Gina Oster on, and she's running against Eddie Manis in that primary, and I was talking to Gina about some different stuff, and I started looking into Eddie Manis, and when Eddie was running for mayor of Knoxville. I don't know how much you followed that race, but he is kind of on the community policing program. Like that's kind of one of the things he wanted to push for, and that was one of his stances in his mayoral run. That has nothing to do with what he's running now, because his state rep seat doesn't do anything with that.
Right.
But that's something, especially in this picture of the United States that we're looking at right now, is something that needs to be talked about, and how that's going to how a shift in the way we police will change your office's interaction as well as the DA's office's interaction. Something that I'm personally on, and I don't know how much this would affect you or not. I think it's about time for Knoxville to go metro. We don't need this two governments in Knoxville anymore. I like being in county. I don't like dealing with some of the city rules as a county resident, but as a businessman, I'm in the city. I got to deal with all the stuff for the city anyway. And I mean, really, if you look at that map of where the city-county line is and all the mess, there's so little county left. I just can't imagine that between Mayor Jacobs and Mayor Kincaid and KPD and Knox County Sheriff's Office that we couldn't trim a ton off a total budget for this county by narrowing down to one office and one, like, because we have TDOT, Knox County roads, Knox City roads, we have city trash, all the different trash companies that run around. Some are private, some are public, and all the different stuff going on. I'm huge on this metro idea. I'm trying to figure out if I have the time and energy to write the 35 chapter proposal on how to do it, because there's so many little ins and outs that would have to be discussed before it could even be discussed to be voted on. And so I'm always curious how like that interaction goes. And so does it matter for you as the public defender? It's just for anything that goes on in the county, or is there a city court separate from county courts that you have to jump between, or do you both, or one or the other?
Well, all the courts that the public defender's office deals with are county courts.
Okay.
There is a city court, a municipal court, but those are for say tickets, whether they're speeding tickets or other kinds of like city ordinance infractions that happen within the city.
So like criminally speaking, for in the TV sake of criminally speaking, so like murders, robberies, stuff like that, they all fall under the county's purview as far as the court system works.
Right.
Even though, like, so if KPD picks somebody up that's a murder suspect, for lack of a better word, that goes into the county courts.
Right.
See, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like how, I mean, I don't know if it matters realistically whether the two police departments have that much interchange. It's just weird. I don't know. It's just odd to me that we're already mixing a lot of the services that the city and county does. So it feels like there's got to be there's extra steps. There's got to be extra steps in the process right now that could be taken out. There's got to be extra budget that could be trimmed. So I'm hot on the idea, which again, that has nothing to do with you because you do all the county stuff anyway. And so even if it's in the city, your office is going to deal with those cases.
Right.
Period.
Right.
So
yes. Yeah.
Because you're not going to defend me pitching a fit about a ticket is essentially what you're saying.
Well, yeah. I mean, and it depends. I mean, if it's some tickets are more serious than others. Some tickets maybe are a misdemeanor. It could face jail time, and
right.
certainly you would have a right to representation for those. But I hadn't really thought much about what you're talking about.
Nobody has. Everybody I brought it up to is like, that sounds like something to think about.
Yeah, but I tell you what I have thought about was what you started with.
Yeah.
The community policing.
Yeah.
The community policing idea. So, I mean, what better office to try to sort of integrate and get involved with the community, the police. I mean, the community law office has its foot in the community.
Right.
It really does. And like we were talking about, it's not just about these are it's just a criminal defense firm.
Right.
It is more than that. It is a computing firm. So I feel like it could definitely be a vehicle to get the police to interact and get to know the communities that they police, help them help them do that so that, that interaction would make things obviously so much better. I mean, if there studies and just, I think people understand that communities where the police are there and are part of the community and are there to, protect and rather than, or just potentially maybe just coming in because a crime has been committed, those communities do better, and the police do better, and everyone is safer and can work together rather than against each other.
Yeah. Because so like you don't have to answer this one because this might be inflammatory as a question. But do you think like it feels to me that intentionally or not, probably more likely unintentionally, that there is there's almost a tax that some policing has almost become a tax collection more than it's become about that protect and serve anymore. And maybe this is my jaded view on it. It's to me, I think the revenue collector part of policing, it kind of perverts the job on their end, and it's not their fault. They've got budgets to do and stuff like that, and I understand that. But like that is something that I've read some different stories on. I've watched some documentaries on. Haven't had a lot of experience here, at least in whether it's true or not here. Maybe it's a biased view that I've picked up over the years, but like the whole revenue aspect of policing really bothers me. Like it really bothers me that it's that what they collect, at least as I understand it, maybe I'm wrong here, is that a lot of times what they collect through ticketing and stuff, most of that goes back into their own budgets. Is that accurate for Knox County? Do you know?
I don't know. I mean, I like, fines and stuff. I know a lot of things are, go to the court system,
right.
and some of that goes to the state, some of it stays here. As far as, fines, I mean, certainly, there may be seizures of
right. The civil forfeiture thing, which has had some national coverage for some reason all of a sudden, which are nuts. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. So again, that's a fear of mine that it's a perverse incentive game. I think there's a lot of stuff in politics where I feel like there's some perverse incentives set up, and it's maybe not been intentional in the first place. I think one of the things with some of the COVID crisis, it was really put into like different things as the CARES Act was really put in to try to help, but it wasn't really thought out really well. And then people really quickly figure out how to kind of manipulate it for their best. And it wasn't for the community's help. It all became for this particular hospital's way to offset cost and not be accurate. And so that's a concern with policing to me. And I think, again, the community policing conversation, I think, helps because it's like, you're there. I see you there. I know who you are because you're one of the 50 cops that I see on a regular basis because you're in my neighborhood. I love the idea of that. And like you said, there's been some definite studies that show that it helps both the police do better and usually operate cheaper, which is a big thing I'm on. I'm as cheap as we can get away with getting the job done kind of guy. And so getting the cost down, having less, say the word because I can't say it right, recidivism. There we go. I said it. I did it. Yeah,
you got it.
So, so there's I keep straying off topic on you and I apologize, but those are things that I think about a lot as far as trying to, because you're holistic in your office. I'm trying to be holistic in not just me. I'm trying not to be selfish, even though I can't help myself sometimes. And so I'm trying to look at things as far as where things go in the long term, how things are going to change for my family and my kids as they go through the school systems and stuff like that. And it always comes back to money and trying to understand the most effective use of said money, which I think I really like. The more I've learned from you specifically, but just reading on it going into this about this holistic approach, like I think it's fantastic. So number one, you have to keep that going and you have to expand that. That is what you're going to do. That's what you told us you're going to do.
Right.
And so we're going to hold you to it. So I don't know, what else would you like to get out about you specifically in moving forward? We've got 1 month from today. It's election day, and then
right.
What is it then? September 1st, you take the seat? Somewhere in that range? Or is it wait till the beginning of the year?
I don't actually know the answer to that. I hate that I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the actual day that that you take the seat.
Most of the ones that I've talked to so far, the August election takes the seat in September, but those have been different. Like that's a county commission and stuff like that, so it may be a little different for your office. So you get in there, you're getting to work, or I don't know. Again, sell some more, sell me more.
Yeah.
I need convincing because I don't even know. Like I said, like I didn't even know the job existed. I mean, and I knew generally the job existed, but the specifics of this job, and and what you bring to the table different, because I'm going to take this. I'm going to take notes and remind myself all the things I asked you, because then when Eric Lutton comes in later this week, I'm going to ask him the same set of. I'm going to try to ask him and push him in the same direction on some of the same questions.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to hold on to this. I'm not going to release them until they're both, so he doesn't get to hear your answers before he has to answer them.
All right.
It's my attempt at fairness. And so, again, this to me is a tougher one, because I have zero idea. Like, I have zero idea of the history of the office, what things the office should or shouldn't be doing. So I'm truly at a loss as far as a good question to ask about you, because I know a few lawyers here and there. I haven't had a lot of experience in the criminal system, thankfully, but I don't. Like, I just couldn't, like, you can do easy stuff on more standard politics, like, Republican, Democrats spend money, don't spend money, like, I could ask those kind of questions, but wouldn't even know what those are. So I'm kind of digging myself in a hole trying to figure out how to ask you a question that you can really show your colors as far as your stances and how you will move this office forward. So other than just letting you go, which I keep interrupting and I can't help myself, is what I guess I should have been doing. So I don't know. We've been pushing about an hour now. So let's do. If you want to take a couple minutes and cover anything that you like to talk about when you're talking to people that I've missed, you can go ahead and do that. Give any contact you want for people to get a hold of and learn more about you through that. Whether you have a website, stuff like that, and then I'll do our little. Maybe I'll probably interrupt with another question, and then I'll do our little close for the show, and we'll go from there. So, thank you, and go ahead and whatever you need to get out there.
Great, absolutely. And by the way, don't apologize for interrupting. It's your show. So,
yeah, but the problem is it's my show, and I need people to talk that people want to listen to, and apparently it's not me. So, more other people is the point.
Cool. Well, I am passionate about criminal defense. I really am. And it's not just because I believe it's incredibly important. The simple defense, just to make sure that people's constitutional rights are upheld, to make sure that there is fairness in the system, and make sure that people see that the system is fair. I think those are extremely important things. But also, this office is, this idea, this holistic approach. What a wonderful way to really make a difference, to make a real difference. I really enjoy this kind of work. I really want to make a difference. I really think I can. I really think I've got ideas. I think I've got the experience that helps me see, well, I've been a public defender before. Well, I've been a prosecutor before. Well, I've been someone who's just right on the peripheries of this office and can see a lot of what happens in and a lot of what's happening on the outside, and can see some of the things that even that those attorneys could use, that potentially the public defender's office could provide to them. Help these people have a little more support, or maybe a lot more support for their clients, things that those clients wouldn't have access to because they're not actually clients of the public defender's office. I feel like I've got the energy, and I like people. I like my clients. I like talking to people. I feel like I could be a good conduit for spreading this message, because I think a lot of it really is just the message. If you get the message out, that's, like you're talking about, what does the public defender's office do? Or what is this holistic approach? I think that message is important. I think it's important for people to hear that message, and then maybe they'll embrace it too. And who knows? Maybe, when we sort of collaborate with other offices or other attorneys or other, social groups or those kind of things, maybe we can even get it to spread. The public defender's office is not the only office where the holistic approach makes sense. I think you alluded to it before. You believe in the holistic approach just in general. Right. And so I think if more people are exposed to it and maybe see that it works and see how it can work, the better. And I feel like I've got the energy to do that, and I want to do that, and that's what I like to do.
Fantastic. Okay, great. Yeah. So it is you have a Facebook page, which is where I first reached you, and that is it Vote For, or is it I don't remember what the specific title of the page was.
I believe it's just Sherif Guindi for Knox County Public Defender. I believe that's
Yeah, I'm getting in there. I'm double checking it for you too. It is Sherif for Knox County Public Defender. Do you have a website or an email that you like to use for people to get in touch with?
I have a website, and then you can just sort of find me from there and see all kinds of things. But the website is just sherifguindi.com.
Okay.
And I'll spell it since we're on radio, I guess.
Yeah.
It's unusual.
I'll put it in the notes as well so that people can see it. It'll actually be a hyperlink to make it extra easy.
Great. Sherif, Sherif as in Frank, Guindi, Guindi, at gmail.com. Sherif Guindi at gmail.com. I'm sorry. I just said at gmail.com.
Yeah, not Gmail, just .com. Right.
Sherifguindi.com. That was my email address. But
well,
yes.
now everybody has your email address too.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, Sherifguindi.com.
All right. So I'll close with this. And again, as knowing lawyers and talking to lawyers in the past, especially trying to put them on record for things you don't have to answer, you don't want to. Constitutionality of the mask law.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
that's a perfect lawyer non-answer. Go ahead.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to give a non-answer, but I don't know. I mean, I understand the reasoning behind it.
Right.
I mean, is free. For example, I guess the easy example is free speech. Do you have a constitutional right to free speech? Well, absolutely. Well, do you have a right to cry fire in a
right
a crowded theater? Well, no, because
you might have added another layer to it because you could argue that I guess you could try to argue that this is that this would be a free speech under expression portion of I'm expressing my disdain for whatever's going on by not wearing a mask or whatever. That'd be a little bit of a stretch, but yeah, you're right. So taking the free speech example, and you can't yell fire. Yeah, it's a tough one for me. Like I don't. The business side of it I already talked about. I'm not going to make you wear a mask. I'm just a person. But it is weird to me. It's a weird spot we're in with
it's very weird
with this whole debacle right now. And I had a second inflammatory question and I lost it. But you gave the proper lawyer answer. It says I don't know. Okay, so so the question would be, because it was $100, and I guess at some point it turns into 30 days jail time.
It's a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
It's a Class C misdemeanor. It's a criminal offense.
Yeah. So potentially I could use your office if I get arrested for not
absolutely.
wearing a
I mean,
mask.
potentially our office is going to be representing people who are charged with this.
Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, that's the only way to describe it because it's like, okay, so I didn't wear a mask. You're going to throw me in a box with a bunch of other people nearby, so that I can't socially distance from them either. It's like your punishment doesn't help your cause either, and so it's just such a weird spot. One of my things that I guess I get to kind of hint at some general me, and I guess your thoughts on this could be interesting, is again, I'm a libertarian. I don't know how much you've listened to the show, but I usually argue the libertarian viewpoint on most things. And so victimless crime is a thing to me. Like I don't understand the premise of certain victimless crimes. Now this is stepping out of that mask conversation because you could very easily argue that by not wearing a mask, there is a victim to me breaking said law. So theoretically, it kind of falls inside libertarian. It's a weird one. This
right.
mask one, again, we don't know. And so like I have a hard time with like the punitive damages that go along with a lot of the things that have become criminality. And I mean, it's not up to your office to change the law. It's your office to zealously defend the client who has broken that law. And so there's not a question in here. I'm just rambling at this point. I don't even know what I'm saying. So it is sherifguindi.com. It is vote for elect. We just went over this and I forgot it.
It's just Sherif
Guindi for Knox County.
For Knox County Public
Defender on Facebook. Right. We are almost in agreement at Gmail. Facebook, YouTube. We are now on Twitter. If you're a Twitter person, I suck at Twitter, but we're trying to get better at that. I really appreciate you coming out for this. I'm looking forward to talking to your opponent and learning more about this office and learning more about what this office can do. If you have any last words, we're going to shut her down.
Yeah. No, I just thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Cool. It was really fun. I appreciate you, and have a good day, everybody. We'll go real quick.
Actually, let me just throw one thing in. Just a public service announcement.
Yeah.
But, I think people should know that there are, the election is on August 6th.
Yes.
There's early voting July 17th through August 1st.
Yes.
And right now, and it looks like it'll be at least for this election, everyone can vote by mail.
guys, we appreciate everybody listening. There will be the links to the different emails and stuff in the show notes, and we will hear from you guys soon. Thank you.